Hello, this is Gerald Telvans. As much as we can hear differences of letters in the way that some of the letters we really really gives us a feeling of these are the basic references that we can recognize, like the you recognize that in a way. There are other letters that really specify the positions, that like we hear these clicks and you have immediately a reference frame within space. In the same way, all the letters have references that gives us signals that we are not very aware of, but there's an order in it, an order of complexity that we can recognize these associations actually very quickly, and you can systemize this, and I have systemized this method to recognize actually the letters, how we perceive them as orientations, as focuses, and combinations of these letters are combinations of these focuses, and they direct us towards actually a very good description of the words, and they fit and they match. Maybe at this point you might not believe it, but every word has a specific combination of letters that is specific and is really specific, directing you towards what you should associate from that position. That means then also that words that almost sound similar, but with just a few letters different, they can even make your mind derive into some completely different association. And why is that? Because every letter points you at a certain direction, but the combinations of letters, they also combine themselves so that you find a certain direction and it can lead to something completely different, simply because it is like a puzzle, and this puzzle is like you move your mindset to different contexts. A couple of focuses are resumed here. One of the focuses is that you resume all your ideas combined and explained as letters towards a point in space. If that's not possible, that means when you're distracted and you think, okay, no, I need a bit more time. I hear also that things need a bit more time. Maybe they change. I have the 1-2 option. And the 1-2-3 option is really going to reorganize actually your idea in a way like, okay, I'm not very sure if I see really everything there before me, if I can really reach everything that is lying before me. So let's see what I can use in this point. It's a kind of description and association that you have in that kind of category into the 1-2-3 category. And I have described them in many ways, but let's describe air and compare that to chair. And even though there's just one combined sound, the ch, before air, it completely changes the focus. And let's see what it does. And I will also compare chair to the French word chaise to make that complete. It should describe more or less the same thing. So let's do that. Let's go to the descriptions of this word. What do we have here? The first thing that we are going to focus upon is this A. A as a combination as A and I. So we have to make that combination of what is written down as A and I, and that should describe actually the A reference very well. It is of course more complex if you start to combine letters that are written differently or are sounding differently, but let's give it a go. I will explain it, how it even makes sense on its own without much investigating it further. I mean, with extra attention and so on. It even if you just know A and I, you will come to that. What is the A? The A focus is from the first category, it's the first letter from the first category, so it is about an orientation in space. So we're going to look upon what is forming itself there in space. What is it there? So that's our first attention, and this attention is immediately centralized within that space. So what is used from that centralized position is, of course, the whole range of it, the whole range of space, which is embedded within a three-dimensional, yes, let's say space, yeah, the three-dimensional space, in which our center focus can also move itself away from the center and can see it as its own center, as its own starting point. So also there it is an applied center. So that's the essence of the letter A. And if we use it in that way, that we apply it somewhere, because it's not necessary that we're going to take it out of the center, but we can make a center anywhere, and that's why you also have the order ATK underneath, because you start somewhere and not necessarily in the totality of things in the middle of it. No, we start a middle. We start to use it as a possibility that we use a center and investigate that center. That's the sense of A as a center point, as a starting point with its own middle. So if we use that in that way, certainly when we combine it with other letters, with other associations, it can be away from the totality of the middle, but it has its own application. So it's a minor middle, let's say, but it is a middle anyhow. It's an applied center. I have my center focus. I still keep my center focus even if I'm away from the global center. What's the global center anyhow? So I'll focus upon a center, and underneath is the idea that I keep it as a foundation. I keep it as a centralized position in my reasoning. So when I use A, which is a center point, a starting point, I use this as a foundation, a basis upon, let's say, also the horizontal plane of my starting point. So that's how I associate A in its totality with the two focuses, the main focus and then the applied focus. Now, why is this application in this case important? Because that's also emphasized, because the next letter, the letter E, is from the last category, and this is always a reference to finding an application which is fitting to the right moment in time and space at each moment. So the complexity of the last category is a bit more difficult than our starting point. Our starting point uses a fixed point, doesn't think about timing and so on. It's just that fixed point. The last category is really about, this is a momentum in time and space, and it's a certain behavior, and this behavior will be tried to be measured at the right time, at the right space, with the right qualities. So it is an application between the 1, 2, 3 zone. The 1, 2, 3 zone is here the global zone in the back, between values that are infinity large, so not just in one point like compared to A, but in extremely large proportions. And it's like the mathematical formula. It just says it's in between 0 and infinity. Here in this case, I rather describe it as between the two sorts of infinities, between the never and the always, between what cannot be and what always will be. So in that way, we make our formula and our application. That's the E, that's the sense of E. I also explained it, the whole association field of why we use that kind of focus of E. So the combination of A and E, of course, will go to that application that is possible in A. So yes, we find an application, we find the local application to what is actually also about the general sense, the general formula that we have. So A and E combined will go to that application that we can find also locally, but it also has actually a global global definition as well. Now that's already the first thing that we have, just the A and the E. The A sound, the A sound like chair. Is a more complex sound. It should be all more about the whole range of associations from A to E during a certain time. So how we fill that in, that sound, I will not explain here now, but you can imagine that it is a transition, much more transition than just there, not just only there. No, there's a whole transition, a whole a range of possibilities, which is logic that it should be there with that complex sound. And where do we go to? End the word with the letter R. You have that in my system at the last part. It's in the last part. It also says, where is the range? The range is within that the volume part, let's say, into the 1, 2, 3 zone, where we will find the connection point in the material. That's how we connect, how we associate it. The first level is from the 1, 2, 3 zones are about foundations, then about how the things develop and evolve and materialize, and the last part, of course, where it connects, where it starts, where it develops, where it connects. The 1, 2, 3 options are there at every point. You can learn to recognize these 1, 2, 3 options everywhere until you can reason with that. So also here we go from a general definition, it's from the last category, to a local application, which we will have to connect. So the connection is always explained into 2 goes. So it is like these arrows, 2 arrows. We go from the one end where we have the idea of there it is not, but now we go to where it is, and then I go from where it is to where it always can be, or where it is that global definition, let's say, where it is a value, let's say, that I can use it as a value. Somewhere in between will be my thing. Of course, I will have my patterns, that's my definition. It will also be that application of A and E, and there will be that circulation, that maintenance between the never and always. I will find my circulation where it is. That's basically my air which is in circulation. That's my investigation. In the end, I will reformulate it and make it a little bit more clear if we start from air itself. Same thing I will do now, but then now I will start with the ch of chair, which is actually a completely different start. So where is that start? It is a complex sound as well. So basically chair start with the sound T, so into a position. So that should be important already as well. And it's a position in space. So I will look for a position in space. But how do I find that position? It's written down how with C and H combined, and then with the sound the sh or the sh as well, but I will come to that very quickly as well. But first we have that position with a letter, and that letter is C. Why do I have it in my system? It's in the first category. The first category is about localizations of positions in space at the border. It's at the third position, starting point, middle body, and then the borders or the limits. So I start as C from that from these borders, And it's into the 1, 2, 3 zone, so it's also into, because we always look for points, we look into a point at the border where we also deal with 1, 2, 3, indeed, with 1, 2, 3 things that are happening there. But we focus mainly on one point, the point where I will start further. So here's my first letter, the C. Here it is, C. It's combined with H, so also the mindset should combine itself with H. Where is H? H is really the whole perspective of the body of where the things live in time and space, where they are thriving in time, in a right time and space context, where the behaviorisms are appearing everywhere, also between never and always and at the right time, at the right spot, and so on. So that's more or less the zone. This zone has also a description that it says it can be itself, it can develop itself completely. That's also something that we can imagine. So we can define it within this zone, we can define this whole thing within that zone. That zone is associated with that borders, so we focus upon it from the borders to the zone where the things will live in a way. In the third category, it's always about find the right time and space at the right time and at the right spot. Meaning, and I always compare that to the bird that you follow in the sky. The bird is always at a different spot, it's always in a different movement, which it's always a bird. So we find a definition so that we can have a space in which we can recognize it, and a timing also that we can follow. Meaning that it's not always filled in at the right place or at the right time. Always, it's not always filled in, but it has that potential. Here it can live. So here is my focus, in which in this space something can live or thrive or whatever. This is the free space in a way which I will connect here from the borders onwards, the C. Next letter is the A, which is again my application in space, where I will find a spot to centralize, combined with E, which is in between never and always. I will have my complete localization applied there. So I will have an application, of course, from the position of C. And because the C is about, we deal with different positions that can appear, and the sound A, you will have a kind of variations that come in. You can come in there from different angles, maybe even you can, or from different positions, in different timings, from different spaces as well, to give access to that plate on which we are going to focus upon. What is always also available is actually the H can be derived to also a more narrow space, actually, where you say, okay, it's from here to here is that space in which we can apply our thought process. So we will do that as well within that zone between C and A, which we have already, or A and E. We have that zone where we can apply something into it and or onto it as well, for a certain to a certain degree. It was a bit unclear how big I had to have my space, but it's there where I have to put it in, and I can put it in up until the center point, or even with that bigger space. I wasn't very sure at that point, but let's have both options open. And the conclusion should be that I make a connection in R. R is about making connections and see what kind of rhythm, what kind of behavior is needed or is accessed into it, so that I can have access to the connection points that I already have. I make a connection to the local position, and I have this thing itself that I can use for a global idea. That's basically the references that we are using here, even though it's just two arrows at this point. Until here, it's not very clear yet how much does this fit with chair, but I will come to that immediately, that it actually will fit very well to chair, although it is from this point onwards. It seems to be a bit strange. You discover something, but how is this to be applied to the chair is strange at this point, but it will come to your senses very quickly in a few moments. Anyhow, the same zone is also of reference frames that is expressed as chair, is also expressed as chaise in French, and the difference is especially the ending is not with R but with Z, which is the sound Z, but the expression of S. The Z, I see it now in my system, is about a direction. You follow a direction, but you follow direction inwardly to the where you what is living there, the CH, what is living there, will be actually in full power, I cannot say, but it will be it goes inwardly. It goes inwardly, or to that place or placement. It goes inwardly to where it can, let's say, vibrate, where you can sense it, where you can use it. That's more the sense of the Z there in that order of chaise. So basically you will have to go to that place in the chaise that goes back to that center point as well. Following the letter positions from letter to letter, as according to the theory, is not the easiest method at all, but once we understand, of everybody who followed what I just said, a little bit what I said there, at that point we'll look at how they really are discovering the things themselves. How do we look at the chair, at the chaise? How do we see that? Then these references of frames will make a lot more sense, and that's what I'm going to do now. So let's find out. The H, I already told you, is the space in which actually something will be applied into it, a space which will be used, a space which can become useful, as you have the space on the chair, on top, and even underneath, yes, of course, which will be used here, where something will be, applied into that, where you can live. Actually, something will live there. Something will be able to explore, to be expressed there. Let's express it like that. And it's combined with the C, so the focus upon that space, you do not simply look into that space, you look into that space from the borders of an object. The borders, which in this case are 1, 2, 3, means you have one access point, which is the C, and two lesser points, and within that zone you estimate actually your starting point. So you start with a chair from one angle, but you see different angles. So that's indeed a very good description of the space which is filled in, seen from that angle point where you go towards that function that we're going to recognize there. So it's already very much the starting point of a chair or of a chaise. So you have the C and the H there. Next letter will be the A. We already know A is an application. Is applied here in this case, but because we will go to the E as well. But it is a horizontal plate of orientation, a centralized focus that is objective, that has something physical. It has it's our main objective where we will focus upon. It's where we sit on the chair. So that's most logically to use that one. That we use that one as the A. Is that plate where we will focus upon. The E combined will say, okay, we will insert something there. We will apply something there. What we will really apply, it's from the last category. We will apply something via context. We will add a context. We will insert that context. And of course, that's the combination. We will go to the chair indeed. It's actually even more simple than I expressed it before. You go and insert that function of the chair there on that spot. The next letter for chair is the R. So I will make a connection between the R is from the last category as well. So if you hear these kinds of letters, they will confuse you a little bit because there are a lot of higher frequencies or frequencies that go in all directions, and you're not very sure what to do with it. That's with the R, with the S. With all these sounds from the last category, you have that sense immediately. So you have to reorganize quickly your mind and say, okay, what shall I do now? With the R, you make actually a connection within the full word, within the letters, all the letters that we have, and we connect them so that they move well together, so that they work well together. That's the R, like to be and I am and you are. It's the R is that being of movement, of measurements, of qualities, of how things are moving and so on. So I will also used the reference point of C and use it to move towards the main spot that is most important on the chair. And I can also move away. And that's my movement of ideas that I can use in the chair. And that's my chair is about. So I can also move the chair. I can move myself towards the chair. I can fill that in different ways. It's that it has an open factor of as well. And that's also the way how these things are allowed from that point also. What's the difference now with CHAISE? Let's have a little bit aside so I can express it better. The S sound is actually that global effect that it will create. So we'll have something that will be used for a certain global effect in a way. That's the S in this case. How it is used here. It doesn't say anything yet, but it's combined with the Z sound. So Z is that you use it for a certain purpose, effect. That will sense well and so on inwardly. So it goes back to that place of the seat on the chair that will actually catch all the vibrations there and all my attentions there. There will be the seat there with the S, and in the end will focus also that a certain time that you can have there at that or can have a certain time there with the S is the Z are these vibrations which can be small or can be larger as Z, and they vibrate you to go to give your attention to that middle. It's a bit less clear for the chaise, but chaise, strangely enough, is not just a chair, it's also this a sofa, I think it is. And different than the English will never call this a chair. At least I don't think it will, but it fits actually quite well with the sound, which is this stretched a little bit of in how you can use it, how it's filled in and so on. But you have that in chair as well. But chaise, I think it's comprehensible how the references of all the letters gives your attention to the right thing and right spot and right image actually still quite well. The A sound gives you a certain range of area in which the object can be applied into it. Okay, I hope that was satisfying enough for the French word. It should be clear enough for the English word. Let's also go and look for how we perceive air, actually, not starting from the theory, but starting from the air itself. We know already with the theory it's about a placement. So it's the A is about place, placing it. Combined with E will apply actually the general conditions to the local conditions. So you have focus upon space, actually space which is local but is also anywhere, and it has the same qualities everywhere, anywhere, at some point, at another point, never or always. It's always the same thing. There we connect to with R, we connect to from what is global to what is local, and actually think about that rhythm again, that circulation, self-maintenance actually idea actually that is that this focus also has. It has this self-maintenance of attention that is described actually with it via the R very well. Okay, I hope these were also more clear. Just tell me what you think of it. There's actually quite little reactions at this moment, but maybe that will change after some while. It's not a very, it's especially not a common theory. It's a new theory, so it will take a time also to get used to the logic which is behind it. And that's what it is. It also you need to get used to the associations which have a certain range, and so that you also not just can follow, but before you can even do that yourself. Some books to prepare you. There are some website that to look at older videos, and there's a Facebook page when you want to have all the new ideas in your mailbox even sooner. Thanks again for watching. Bye.